All right. Good morning, everybody. Seeing attendees file in here. Thank you for joining us. This is the NEHA-FDA Retail Flexible Funding Model Grant webinar for new applicants for the grant year 26-27. Give you guys just all a moment or two to get in, see if we have more attendees joining before we start our presentation. But just want to thank you all for being here. Okay, as I see the attendees coming in, starting to slow down, I believe we can get started. So my name is Evan Sattel. I'm part of the Retail Flexible Funding Model Advisory Team here at NEHA. Love working on this grant, love working on this program. This presentation is going to be about the opening of our new grant portal for the grant year 26-27. We're here with a great group of people right now. My screen will, there we go. First, I want to turn it over to Mary Beth Neeson, our FDA RFM Project Officer, for a few words about the program.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're sitting today. Hopefully it's not too snowy where you are. Snow is coming where I am, so we're excited about that with young kids. I want to welcome you to the RFFM Grant Program opening webinar. We are so excited to be able to continue this process of offering grants so that you can continue to advance your retail standards program. It is significantly important to us that we continue to have really great applications. And the best way to make great applications is to be in one of these webinars. So you can see if there's anything different from previous years. You can see if there's something that maybe you could do different. Maybe it's something you didn't understand which button you hit last year, but now you understand because you went to the webinar. So you're in the right spot for information to get you ready for year two. And we're super excited and hope that many of you will apply and take advantage of this opportunity to help propel your program and utilize some funds from the federal government. Thank you so much. Evan, back to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Beth. And I'd like to introduce Rosie DeVita from the RFM program. She'll give a few words on the program as well.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks, Mary Beth. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's really an honor to be here with this wonderful community of retail food safety specialists and professionals. And I just want you to know how grateful I am to be a part of this program and stand alongside you, the ones who are keeping our food safe, and our dedicated partners, including FDA, NEHA. We have Tara Smith here from NEHA, our colleagues Art and Jenna and their team with Public Health Partners, and of course our project director, Dr. Mike Randawa, and the MedSava team. Many of you probably don't know who I am, but I have worked on this project since NEHA got it back in 2022. But in my 4+ years working on this project at NEHA, I've really had the privilege of witnessing this program from so many vantage points, listening in on mentor and mentee sharing sessions, joining networking discussions, attending your presentations at the AECs, and even seeing your accomplishments highlighted in the news. Every one of these moments has left me inspired, and I've learned so much from you all. And every time I hear you speak about your work, I walk away with a renewed sense of purpose. So thank you all for that. Whether you're joining us for the first time or have been a part of this journey for years, please know that we hold immense gratitude and respect for you. Your dedication, passion, and commitment to protecting the safety of our community's food are what makes this program thrive. You're the heart of this work, and it's really a privilege to support and learn from you. So thank you for allowing me just a few minutes to express my appreciation for you all and this program, and I will now turn it back over to Evan.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Rosie. And yes, thank you again to our NEHA partners for being here, Tara Smith and Chelsea Gridley Smith. They'll be able to answer any questions you guys have about mentorship program today. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jenna Brown and Art Johnstone for the bulk of this presentation. Jenna, go ahead, take it away.
All right, thanks, Evan. And I am excited to talk to you guys today about what we have in store for you for the upcoming granting year. And then Art will wrap it up at the end and answer any questions that you have during this presentation. So we'll start off talking about some of the goals and benefits of the retail program standards. The goal is to promote inspectional uniformity and consistency, all while doing this at your own pace. It is a voluntary program, allows for a lot of flexibility on the side of the jurisdictions who are participating. It also promotes networking and relationships with other jurisdictions, be that state, local, tribal, or territorial. And it allows those SLTTs to assist each other and receive any necessary assistance as they complete this work to promote food safety. And finally, we hope to promote inclusiveness. Any food protection jurisdiction who is enrolled in the retail program standards is welcome to apply for this funding. So if you're familiar with the program at all, most of the aspects for this year are the same as they've been in the past. The major requirement is still that you are enrolled in the retail program standards with FDA. We do still have the grant program registration and information available on the NEHA website, neha.org/retail grants. So please check that out. We are using the same grant portal to register and to apply and manage your grants. So if you have applied in the past, that's the same portal that you're used to using, the same login and password that you've used in previous years. And if you're new, that's where you'll register to get your login information and complete your application. It will still be a full 1-year performance period. This next granting year will go April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027. And the funding levels for the different grant categories are the same as in prior years. And we'll break that down as we go as well. So this year we have 4 grant types available. 2 of those are base grants, a Track 1 and a Track 2 development-based grant. And both of these offer mentee and or training optional add-ons in addition to the base grant objectives. Then we have a Track 3 1-year optional add-on grant. This is for folks who already have a Track 3 grant that they were awarded last year, including those of you who may have gotten capacity building funding. And this is going to allow you a 1-year grant to request mentee or training optional add-on funds. And then finally, we have the mentor optional add-on grant. This is for our new Track 2 applicants and our existing Track 3 grantees to apply to be a mentor instead of a mentee. Our special projects and then our capacity building and our 3-year Track 3 applications are not going to be offered this year, but we are hopeful to offer them again in the future. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about each of the different types of grants and kind of what the eligibility requirements are, how much funding you can request, and what the expectations are for each of these grants. And again, if you have any additional questions about these, Art will field those at the end, or you can throw them in the Q&A. So to be eligible for a Track 1 development-based grant, the only requirement is that you are enrolled in the retail program standards. This is a fixed funding grant. All of the deliverables are a set amount of fixed funding unless you also apply for training funds. We do require a detailed budget for that. The requirements for this grant are completion of a self-assessment of all 9 standards and the completion of a comprehensive strategic improvement plan, and that's going to get you $5,000. You have the option as well to add that training component for up to $7,500. You do need to detail the budgets for that part of the grant, and we are still finalizing the eligible courses for Track 1 grantees. So please check back on the NEHA website. We will have those updates soon, so you know exactly what training you can apply for with this grant. And then finally, we have the optional outcome of applying to be a mentee for a fixed amount of $10,000 for the year. So in total, you can get up to $22,500 for this funding year through one application for a Track 1 grant. Track 2, you'll see, has a few more requirements and a few more options here. So you still have to be enrolled in the retail program standards, but you also have to have a current SA9, which is February 12th, 2021 or later, and a current CSIP. This is also a fixed funding grant, so it's just based on deliverables met, again, for everything but that training component. For these track 2 grants, your required outcome is to work on at least one of standards 1 through 8. So work towards meeting one of the standards 1 through 8. And that's going to get you your fixed funding, sorry, of $5,000 as well. Then you have several optional outcomes that you can add. You may choose to work towards meeting standard 9. The funding amount for that component is going to depend on the risk factor study approach that you use. So we have the file study approach is going to get you $5,000 versus the data collection or hybrid approach are going to be a $10,000 amount. Then we have the training component. You can request to attend any training, workshops, and conferences related to retail food safety with a budget of up to $7,500. You can apply to be a mentee within this grant application for that fixed funding of $10,000. And then you can also, if your SA9 is going to expire within 12 months, you can apply for $3,000 to go ahead and update that during the granting year as well. So these track 2 development-based grants allow for you to request up to $35,500 for the granting year. And that's, again, all in one simple application. And then for the track 3, we have this 1-year optional add-on grant that's going to combine two outcomes. So this is for all of our existing track 3 maintenance and advancement-based grantees. We say in good standing, it means that your reports are up to date, you're on track with that current project, and you just want to add some additional outcomes for the upcoming year. And those outcomes can include, again, retail food safety training with your budget of up to $7,500. And you can also apply to be a mentee as a track 3 grantee for up to $10,000. So that can get you up to $17,500 for the granting year. And then our final grant offered this year is our mentor optional add-on grant. It's a separate from the grant application. So if you choose to not be a mentee, you might go ahead and apply to be a mentor this year. So folks who are track 2 applicants or track 3 grantees can apply to be a mentor in the mentorship program. And the amount of funding, it is fixed funding, but it's going to be based on how many mentees you choose to take on. So that's usually between 1 and 5, and that's going to span from $12,000 to $24,000 for that grant. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, or if it is something that you already know is a priority for you all this year, we hope that you consider enrolling, registering, and applying. If you are new to the program and need to get enrolled in the retail program standards, the link is here, but it's also just available on the NEHA website to enroll. From my understanding, it's a pretty simple process, so it's a great thing to go ahead and get taken care of now. You want to make sure that you're registered for the actual grant program. So these are 2 separate components. The registering for the grant program allows you access to that grant portal. So that's where you're going to complete your application. That's where you're going to manage a grant once it's awarded. And this is something that you can do now and go ahead and get it out of the way before January 5th. Once you register, you'll receive a username and password. That usually takes about a day, but again, it's just an easy step that you can go ahead and get done now, or you can do it once the registration period once the application period opens January 5th, all the way through February 12th. An important thing to note as you consider your application is just confirming which track you belong in based on your individual needs and goals. So again, just covering these eligibility requirements for the different tracks. So for track 1, you just have to be enrolled. These are really best suited grants for first-time applicants in the RFFM grant program, or for folks who have maybe not worked on the standards for quite a while and who want to come back and do their self-assessment of all 9 standards and their CSIP. A track 2 grant, you have to be enrolled, as well as have that up-to-date SA9 February 12th, 2021 or later, and an up-to-date CSIP. And then if you want to do the track 3 add-on grant, you just simply have to be a track 3 grantee existing. and in compliance with those 2025-2026 reporting requirements. So your reports are up to date, everything is on track, and you can go ahead and request more funding for the upcoming year. Just want to take a minute to say thank you to all of you, reiterate what everyone else has said here today. We couldn't do it without everybody here, all of our SLTT participants, the hard work that you do, all the support from FDA, our retail food specialist, our project officer, the JAG and leadership, our partners at NACCHO, NEHA, CFP, and other partners create such a great support network for everyone involved in this grant program. And we truly appreciate the work that you all do. So if you have any more questions, especially anything specific to your unique situation, to your jurisdiction, please reach out to our grant program support team. We're happy to help answer any of those questions. You can reach us by email at retailgrants@neha.org, or we have a toll-free phone number here. The application guidance for 2026-2027 has been posted on the NEHA Retail Grants website, and you can go ahead and access that new applicant access the grant portal to register button there on the website. It does look a little bit different. I don't think there's a photo anymore, but it still just says grant portal since the website updates. But you can just click that button and go ahead and register. And just an idea of the time frame that we're looking at for these applications. Again, that application period is January 5th through February 12th. February 16th through 24th, the administrative review will take place, followed by the peer review, February 25th through March 13th, and then score processing and final scoring March 16th through 30th, with award notices sent by March 31st, again, to begin those projects April 1 of 2026. We do have another one of these webinars. It will cover these same things, but it is January 22nd. And this webinar, as well as that one, will be posted on the NEHA website, so you can reference them at any time, or you can always reach out to us, again, with those individual questions. We are happy to answer them at retailgrants@neha.org. And with that, I will pass it over to Art for any specific questions.
Yeah, I want to handle at least one of these that are still in the Q&A right now live. One question, can you provide more detail for the Track 1 training add-on? We don't have final details. We are hopeful there will be live in-person SAVA workshops at least one during the year. So what we would suggest is you go ahead and apply for that and put TBD if there's no information released. And but we're hopeful, and we hope to have better information before the grant portal opens on January 5. The other thing I would say is just be aware there are some free options for the SAVA workshop, and those will at least one of those will certainly be available. So stay tuned. And Rance or Evan, do you want to say anything more about that?
Art, I think you covered what I was going to say, especially, in doubt, just apply for it. Worst case scenario, you don't get it, or there's no way to use it, but there's no harm in applying for it in this initial stage.
And we are hopeful that there will be options, and hopeful that there will be at least one in-person SAVA workshop. There's a question about mentor and mentee. Does it require travel? The answer to that is yes. We definitely want site visits to happen, and they can be virtual, but we encourage them to be face-to-face. And I don't know that we know for sure whether the end of year conference will be live or virtual, but I'll let Tiara answer that. I think even if it was live, there may be a virtual option, but Tiara, do we really know a lot yet? Or maybe Evan or Rance can weigh in on that one as well. Looks like Rance is typing there.
Nope, that's just my fingers moving. We don't have anything yet. We are, a lot of it's depending on the funding that's available out there. It could look very similar to how it has in the past, where there is a year-end face-to-face meeting there, and it's our hope that that's what it looks like. But that's we're still waiting on all the funding coming in.
I'll move down. I got a couple more in there. Is there guidance for those interested in becoming a mentor? The answer is yes, and definitely reach out. We can get you a lot of information about that. And then there's that question goes on. We applied for mentee last year and didn't get it, but haven't been involved, and we think we may be a good spot to be a mentor. We're hopeful that there will be more mentee funding and more mentor funding. So definitely, decide which you want to pursue. And even if you're in track 2 and even in track 3, there may be mentee funding. Last year there was not. There might be this year. So, we don't know everything yet, but our hope is to kind of get back to where things were, a couple of years ago. So fingers crossed. And then if you were approved for track 2 standard 9 risk factor study last year, can we reapply and continue the project? Absolutely. Most jurisdictions do their standard 9 work on a 3 to 5 year cycle. I think 5 is pretty typical. And you might have an idle year in there. But for the most part, most of you are doing something every year, and you can apply for funding for that each year. I think I put this question in chat. Actually, this is a little different from Lucy. What if we have a current CSIP but a 2019 self-assessment? Your only option there would be to submit the self-assessment. If you want to get into track 2, you would have to submit your self-assessment before February 12th. If you can get a self-assessment done in the next couple months, you could go into track 2. Otherwise, Lucy, and I know your other question was, it sounds like you don't want to just kind of be stuck in that track 1 level, but that may be the best place for you. Feel free to call, and we can put you in touch with the right people to kind of talk through your specific situation. You also could talk through that specific situation with your FDA retail food specialist.
Art, we do have some questions in the chat here as well.
Oh, okay. Let me pull that up. Yeah, I see. Let me make sure I get to the right place. Yeah, if we have a current CSIP and SA9, we would not qualify for the 3K to do a new CSIP SA9. That is correct. If you're current on your SA9 and CSIP, you should go into track 2, not track 1. There are some tricky things about dates, so feel free to reach out to the grant program support team if there's any specifics. But generally speaking, if you've got a current SA9, we really want you in track 2, even if that means you've got to do a quick CSIP, and we've got resources, but we really would like to see people progress from track 1 to track 2. I saw a question about track 3, capacity building. Is it available? We still hope to do that in the future, but no, this year, if you're in track 3, you've got some options for some add-ons this year, and you can be a mentor, but no new track 3 applications this year and no new capacity building this year. Does completing your application earlier give you a better chance of being awarded the grants? It does not. You've got until that due date of February 12th. The best, what I would say is read everything on the website, read through this PowerPoint, just do the best job you can to show that your jurisdiction is committed to the standards and that you're making progress, that you know where your weaknesses is and you know how to correct them. That's your best chance. But we do some preliminary review just to see if people are eligible, but everybody's considered with the same standard, and getting in early does not help. Hopefully that gives you a little more time and is a good answer.
I'm not seeing any additional questions. I mean, feel free to put them in chat or Q&A, or any come up later. You can email our team. Art, is there anything else you'd like to cover?
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about training. We do understand training has been a challenge. We also know that life has been a challenge for just about everyone in public health, and certainly for our friends in federal government. So there may be courses that aren't announced yet. What we would like to do, and we're putting some instructions out there for you, but be as specific as possible. If you want to go to a retail seminar and you want to go to the NEHA conference, the NEHA information's out there. You can put specifics in there, but if there's not specifics about retail, just say, hey, I want to go to retail. The location and date are to be determined. If there's one in the Northeast, I'd love to go to that. The best information you can give us is fine. Training will be approved. Even if the specifics aren't there, we're going to approve. All training applications are going to be treated equal. If during the year you need to change those plans, you wanted to go to a retail seminar, but there wasn't one scheduled that you could attend, we will allow an amendment during the year and it will be approved. So you're not losing anything by being specific now, and it really helps us plan and know, really what the demand is out there and what people really want to attend.
And Art,
yeah, I see another question in there. Is the training add-on still the only part of the grant application that requires a budget? Other than our existing capacity building, that is correct. Everything is fixed funding, other than capacity building for existing capacity building grantees, and anyone who applies for new training this year will have to put a detailed budget in there. And again, it's an estimate. You can't get more money later in the year, but you could definitely change some of those details. Fingers crossed, we're going to have a good amount of training and funding available, and training opportunities. One question I'm not seeing, but I want to answer. We've already got a couple questions. Hey, I wasn't able to use my training money this year. Can I carry it over? The answer is no. We'll start fresh. If you cannot attend a training, an eligible training that's pre-approved by March 31st, 2026, the best thing to do is we'll close out that grant without using the money. That money will roll over, and you should apply for a new training grant that is during the grant period, which for this next cycle is going to be April 1, 2026 through March 31, 2027. Basically a parallel to the dates this year. A couple other question, maybe I missed it, but is there a place of all the training availability that is out there? Yes, there is. I'll try to get that in the chat in a second, but it's definitely in the guidance. There is a link. If you go to the RFFM resources tab, there is a training link, and there are a lot of dates out there already for NACHO, NEHA, AFDO, the dates we know about. But we are hoping to get as much information we can into that link by January 5th when the portal opens, but there might be updates all the way to the end. So keep your eye on that, but I'll put that in the chat in a second. When are funds released? That's I can interpret that in a number of ways. Your award, we're hopeful that your award will be made by the end of March for this cycle, and that you will be able to begin your projects on April 1. Kendron Wright asked, training has to be pre-approved. Yes, we do want to know specifically who's going, what their job title is, what training they're going to go to. But like training, I mean, you can see a list of kind of pre-approved retail training. It's more of a formality. Why we want it to be pre-approved is we want to make sure that what your plans are part of that pre-approved list. So it's kind of a formality, but we really do want we want to know who's going to a training, when they're going, where they're going, what the course is, and what their job title is, so that if there's any questions in advance, we can get those ironed out. And Evan, thank you. While I was chatting away, he put in the link for the retail grants training options. That page is going to be updated imminently, but there are some good dates if you scroll down a little bit for 26, 27. And again, that link is going to get better and better as we get into the open grant period.
And Art, we've had some move over into the Q&A now as well there too. Will the number of grants awarded this year be different from that of last year?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm sorry, Rance, I'm lost in my screens here. But last year, what we did is pretty much everyone who applied got a grant. You might not have gotten all your options funded, but everybody got funding who was eligible last year. We hope that's true again this year. And depending on the final amount of funding released, that determines how many mentees we can fund, how many mentors we can fund, and how much training. Last year, we had to, because of funding, we had to limit mentee to track 1, and we had to limit training. People were able to request 7,500. We were only able to fund 3,500. Fingers crossed, no one knows the answers, but we really are hopeful that we can offer that full 7,500 in training. And we are also hopeful that, I don't know about the number of mentees and mentors. We hope it goes up, but we do expect that this year there probably will be, kind of no matter what, some track 2 and perhaps track 3 mentees. So what I would do if I were you is apply for everything available that you really feel like would help your jurisdiction. And a lot of those decisions won't be able to be made until we really know final funding figures. And I'll throw that out. Rance or Mary Beth, either one of you want to address that as well?
I have nothing more to add than you do. I mean, we're hoping, we're hoping to award lots of money to lots of folks, and that's the overarching goal. Yeah.
And we will prioritize almost certainly making sure everybody gets something. If you're engaged in this program, that's kind of the top priority, is to help you keep moving forward.
Right. Another question, and Evan, I don't know if you're ready to answer this one. Is there a CSIP tool that we will be required to use this year? Or can we just update our existing CSIP to make it current?
Yes, yeah, I was getting ready to put a response in chat to that, but I'm happy to answer it here, put in writing as well. We do encourage grantees to use the CSIP gap analysis tool that is linked on our website. I'll send a link to it. That's because NEHA is going to introduce, for the 26-27 grant year, the Retail Standards Assessment Tool. This is based off FTA's CSIP gap analysis tool. It will be required for interim and final reporting in the 26-27 grant year. It will not be required for your application. Your application, your CSIP can be in any format, but we do recommend that you use the CSIP gap analysis tool. I'll link to it in the comments. So you can easily move your data from that into our Retail Standards Assessment tool. We'll have tutorials on it. We'll have live webinars. We'll have a written guide, video guide, how to use the new tool once we roll it out. It will definitely be ready by, I think, the beginning of the grant year, and will be required for interim and final reports. I'll put all that in the comment box so you guys can go look back at all that information.
And Evan, we're doing beta testing on that tool right now, and I think we're getting some good responses back on it, correct?
Yeah. A lot of the responses at this point are kind of nice quality of life improvements, but people are loving the tool as a baseline. I think we have a couple changes to make, but like I said, a lot of it is just kind of making the tool nicer, making it easier to use. Baseline, it's been really, really positive responses.
Good.
I see a question that says, would we be eligible to apply for Standard 9 funding if we're working on a statewide risk factor study? What I'd say, we probably need more information on that. So once you look at the grant application itself, reach out if there's any, just be very clear what you're doing. And what I would say is more than likely we'll work with you to make sure that it's fundable, but we definitely want to know the details there. I'm not seeing other questions, but we'll definitely hang on here a little bit more. We're pretty early, so we definitely want to make sure we ask all your questions. I will say that we are going to post this PowerPoint afterwards. There's actually some more information that wasn't presented about things like mentee deliverables, mentor deliverables, the different kinds of risk factor studies you can get, and the different amounts of funding for those. So make sure that'll probably be posted within the next week or so on the website. So check back and make sure you get that PowerPoint. I know also that there's going to be an FAQ section on the website, and we will, as questions come in, we're going to try to, as broadly as we can, share with everybody the questions being asked and the answers. And last but not least, on the NEHA-FDA RFFM website, there's always a phone number, always an email for getting live answers, and we're standing by to answer questions as quickly and as effectively as we can. Oh, I do see a question. It says no documentation required at any point for base fixed funding. That is correct. Your documentation is going to be, you're going to prove that you met a deliverable. A deliverable for mentee might be, I attended the virtual end of year meeting. We will check with NACCHO. You know, that's all you'll ever need to do is make sure you check the deliverable. I will say, if you spend that money on travel or something like that, NEHA is not going to ask you for that. FDA is not going to ask you for that, but you could get audited. So just always make sure you're spending that money in accordance with your agency's policy, but also with federal policy. And I would trust that most of your agency policies are pretty tight on making sure we're not violating any federal requirements. But yes, we are trying to make this as easy as possible. You do the work, you attest to it, we verify that you did it, and you get paid. That's we're trying to move as much of the funding to that level as we can. You will see final progress reports for the current grant year were added to your portals this week for all grant types. Track one's been in there for a couple of weeks, but everybody has them. There's a lot of details, and a lot of those details are just saying you're just checking boxes saying you met all the deliverables. We also want to know what was hard, what was easy, what could be better. But you know, it's a little longer than before, but all the questions should be super easy. And it's longer because it includes your final reimbursement request. So one report will get you everything done when you're done with your project. One thing I would just remind everybody, in the past, every year until now, your grant year ended December 31st, and then you were in reporting phase. You still have a full quarter of the year, more than that left. Grants for the current year do not end until March 31st. Your reports are not due till May. So you still have, you know, if you're done and you've accomplished everything, you can turn in a final report tomorrow. But if you still have work to do, just don't forget that there's that little bit of overlap there, which hopefully will be helpful to everybody.
All right. I'm not seeing any more in chat, any more in Q&A. We're happy to stay on for a little bit if there are any more questions.
Best of luck, everyone. We're really glad there's so much interest in our webinar, and there will be another webinar in January. It's probably going to be roughly the same PowerPoint, but that's the time you might want to attend just to hear other questions. By that point, you'll have access to the applications. You'll be able to dig in, and you might hear some good information from others. So feel free to chime in.
And I'll put the registration link to that in the chat right here, so you can register if you're interested right now.
Question, will the PowerPoint be shared? Absolutely, coming within a week or so. And then I just saw a question too, do we ever foresee the grant year going back to a calendar year? It's been a challenge just because we don't have all the information by August, but I don't know that any final decisions are made. Rance, anything you want to say about that?
No, mentally it would be a lot easier for me if it would go back to a calendar year as well there too. Right now the goal is to move it forward at the same time, not truncate your work on it and say, okay, you guys have a year's worth of work to do in 9 months or something like that. So so I would say probably not this cycle. As we move into the next cycle, that would be nice. Yes.
I think we would all love it, but there's been, and as you know, there's been some uncertainty in the past year. So that's kind of pushed us off.
And I want to thank everybody for participating in the program this year. As we all know, was a challenge. The funding wasn't what we all hoped and wanted for. It came late, which is the reason why that we needed to put the dates on it that we did. But across the board, folks have a positive feeling about what might come this year. For those of you who were on the FDA retail seminars yesterday or the day before, Eric Mettler talked about, how positive he felt about retail food and the funding that would be available for it. Mary Beth brought it up again as well. We're seeing that as well. So if everyone on this call would just cross your fingers for, the awards to be as high as possible, these funds come straight through to you. And we're excited to invest in as many jurisdictions with as much money as possible because we know our ROI, return on investment, shows you guys do good job with the money that's given to you.
Rance, we had a last minute question come in that I think is a good one. Do we have a year-end meeting this time? I just want to give you guys a chance. Tiara, if you want to mention, we're going to do a virtual mentorship meeting this year, and you can share the little details you have. And then there's also a retail program standards symposium coming up this year. And while it's not really a year-end meeting, it kind of does that same thing. So maybe I'll have Evan or Rance talk about that.
Yes, thank you, Art. So yes, we will be having an end of year meeting for the mentorship program as we usually do. It will be virtual this year. And so, we have to be flexible and move things around a little bit. But we're looking forward to it. We've just started the planning for this and thinking through how to make it great for mentors and mentees like it always is. So, yes, it'll be virtual this year.
And Tiara, you're thinking February, March timeframe, TBD?
Yes, late February, early March. Yes.
And what about that retail program standard symposium?
Evan's running that show. Let's talk about it, Evan.
Yeah, happy to. This year we have the Retail Program Standards Symposium. It will be held actually in the beginning of the next grant year. It will be April 20th through 22nd, 12 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, each of the 3 days. It's all virtual. This year's theme is Progress in Motion, trying to talk about how your program can make kind of steady improvements in areas of training, in areas of making partnerships, just in general understanding of the standards. We've got a lot of speakers from FDA, CFP, state, local, territorial agencies. We have some industry partners speaking at this event. So we'd love to have you guys. Also, we have call for abstracts just open today. We're looking to fill 4 sessions. So if you guys have abstracts or have any ideas around Standard 8, Standard 7, I believe there's a couple others, look for that call for abstracts. We'd love to hear from you all. This is a really great opportunity to, sharpen your speaking skills, sharpen your presentation skills, and just share out about some really interesting stuff that your program's doing. Oh, Rance, you're on mute. Rance, you're muted.
Yeah, thanks. What I was saying was that if you didn't get that email today, we're not sure everybody on this call is on that abstract list, that we sent out today. Please reach out to retailgrants@neha.org, and with your address and everything, we'll make sure you get that link across to it. We've also got leadership at the FDA Human Foods Program has already signed on to be keynote speakers for it. So we'll have some exciting conversations to be had there.
I'm not seeing any more questions. Give one last opportunity to ask. Like I said, if you don't get one in today and something pops up in your mind before next webinar, you can always reach out to our team at Retail Grants at neha.org. Always eager to answer your questions. But with that, I just want to say thank you all for attending this webinar. I know it's early. I know portal's not opening until early January, but thank you all for really thoughtful comments, really thoughtful engagement today. Art, Rance, any final thoughts?
Nope. I'll just say what Mary Beth usually says. Don't tell anybody you got these 15 minutes left, and and go ahead and keep your calendar blocked off on there. So, okay. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in January.